I'm going to do something about the Barton Swing Aqueduct. And this is the video that made me think about this, which is the one that Jacquie did, which only lasts, what, minute and a half, 2 minutes, something like that?
Yeah, if that, yeah. And just how long it takes to go across.
I haven't looked at the figures today, but I put this up, on Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok, and it's now got, I think the latest is gone beyond those. It's just been incredibly popular, and I think what it is, it's just a lovely slow video, and it only takes a minute. If you haven't seen it, anyway, it's nice to watch it again. Let's have a go, see if this works. There's no commentary in it or anything. It's just, this is purely as you took it. And normally I love to interfere with videos and edit them and do things to it, but it would have been a really bad idea with this one. Here it goes.
I took it partly because a lot of people see it from down below, but they don't actually go across it, so they don't see it from that view. It's a lovely day. Yeah. I'm going to just film as we go across and scan so that people see what you see from up there, because it's quite interesting when you look particularly to the right, because you see two road bridges, one high one low one.
But it's lovely. It looks
you
fantastic.
Get the chug 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 of the engine.
Do with a lick of paint, couldn't it?
Yes. Never mind.
And that's the road bridge over there.
Yeah, and then if you look in the distance,
you can see the new road bridge.
Yeah.
Nice.
Why, when it opens, doesn't the water slop over the side?
So anyway, it's as you can see, I was brought up in Stratford, maybe a couple of miles from that bridge, and I never knew about it. And it was actually a friend of mine at university who took me along to see it because he was doing civil engineering. And I was just stunned by the fact that it was there. It's the first and only swing aqueduct in the world.
Wow.
Which it's amazing, and I'll come on to some of the ways in which you can see it just a bit later. It was designed by somebody called Sir Edward Leader Williams, who I think he died in 1910 in Bowden for some reason, and it was opened in 1894, and of course it was part of the whole requirement of the Manchester Ship Canal, because before then there was an original 1761 Barton Aqueduct, which was again quite a feat in itself. It was designed by the famous canal engineer James Brindley, and it was the first navigable aqueduct built in England. Apparently, when it was first built, it was when the aqueduct was first filled with water and one of its three arches began to buckle under the weight, they had to do remedial work, but still managed to get it going, opening to traffic in 1761, only a year later. And it remained used for 100 years until the construction of the Manchester Ship Canal meant it had to be replaced by the Swing Aqueduct. That was shortly before its demolition in 1893. That's James Brindley, who was the He built altogether 365 miles of canals and many water mills, but that's James Brindley. He also invented the use of puddling clay, which is the process of lining a water body such as a channel or pond with a puddle clay, a watertight material based on clay and water mixed to be workable. The sort of thing you might try and do for your pond at home as well. It's its usage in UK dams and canals was only superseded about 1960 by the use of rolled clay using steam rollers, which by then.
When we were at school,
Yeah.
James Brindley was recognised as the engineer behind the Bridgewater Canal, and I just think it's interesting that it's the Duke that gets the name. It should be the Brindley Canal. He was the engineer, the navigator who created the bloody thing. But the money men always put their name to it, don't they?
This is Men at Puddle on Barton Aqueduct in 1896. They just seem to be hammering it down by their feet and with spades, which is weird. Apparently, they used to run herds of cattle over it to sort of get it settled in. It's a kind of very eco way of doing it in a way, wasn't it?
And mixing the effluent.
Yeah, it helps it bind together.
Yes.
So why did they have to knock it down? Because it'd been doing well for 100 years. Well, the height of ships under the new ship canal was too great to pass under the old aqueduct. An alternative scheme involving the use of a double lock flight was rejected because of the need to conserve water in the Bridgewater Canal. Because every time you use a lock, you're using a lot of water, which you lose. The interesting thing here is that on the bridge itself, when it swings, it's taking with it 500 tons of water. So you can see the amount of water that would have been involved every time.
Yeah.
So there's the aqueduct. It's still in use, as we found out from Jacquie the other day, and that's it in the closed position. Obviously, I'd have thought. And this is the guy who this photo of him was taken in 1880 during the construction of the ship canal. And he was appointed to design the whole ship canal, linking Manchester with the Irish Sea, and he became chief designer and chief engineer. Now, why did Manchester do that, Derek? Why did they build such a mammoth undertaking as building a wide canal from Liverpool to Manchester?
Oh, the link to the worldwide.
Yeah, but what was an incentive to do that?
Movement of coal. It was movement of coal, getting it out, especially from around the St Helens area and the Warrington area. And
well, I thought that was more the Bridgewater, but with the ship canal, the main reason were the tariffs on goods that Liverpool insisted on that Manchester pay.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. So this was the incentive to make it something that they had control over. This is when I went up on my little helicopter to take a shot. There you see it opening. There it is. You can see what it looks like.
Amazing. They did close it in March for repairs.
Yeah, I heard that. It mustn't have taken them very long then, because they're up and running.
I think it was about 3 weeks, something like that.
You're right. It certainly needs a coat of paint. Well, several paint.
Yeah.
I mean, will the iron eventually deteriorate if it's not protected from oxygen?
Well, I thought so. Like any iron, that's the lifting mechanism, which is done hydraulically. It lifts it up a few inches, which means it can then turn around without much friction.
Amazing.
Here's a big boat going through. This is the water one. You should be able to see it here. This is where they're putting it back.
Oh yeah.
Do you know how often it shifted?
No, I don't actually. Presumably you have to book it in, there are a couple of guys there who sort of supervise it.
So how do they put the barriers?
They just press a button and they swing it. The barriers swing down, and then it cuts the water off. If you see, so it becomes like a little swimming pool. That'd be interesting to have a swimming race as the thing was opened. See, this is the swing bridge in the 1970s, and you can see there's a tug and there are big boats coming through on it in the 1970s. And there you can see the both of them there. There's a road bridge. And
fabulous shot.
It's a good one, isn't it? It took me ages finding one that really represented both of them.
That's fantastic.
And it's a really good one, isn't it? Of the road bridge. I can remember as a kid when we were going to Blackpool or something like that before motorways, we'd go across that bridge on the way, and if you got stuck by a boat coming through, you had to wait for it seemed like forever. And people going to work in the morning used to get really browned off about it, apparently. And this is a Punch cartoon promoted by Liverpool of ridicules the idea that Manchester could become a major seaport. Can you see it says Manchester sur Mer, a seductive prospect. No, that's worse than my puns, that.
Yes, it is.
1882.
But it's great that they've got the sort of dirty Manchester in the background. It really represents it well, don't you think? I think it's excellently drawn.
And do you think she's meant to be one of the liver birds?
No, she looks remarkably modern, doesn't she? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the little model boat at the bottom, the kids playing as well. It's really good. Have they got some writing on that? I don't know.
1982.
I also think you need to put it in context of what it actually led to. And this is Salford docks in 1934, and you can see it's quite a huge proposition. I've got several of these, and this is in it's pronounced, I think I'm right here, Odsal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, local. That's the locals.
That's the soap works. I don't know whether it's still going, probably not, but you can see on the banks of the Ship Canal there were all sorts of factories and technological things going on there too. And this is from 1934, and you can see the Trafford Road Bridge, which again is still in operation there at the bottom, at Pomona Docks.
And that'll be the...
that's a tram stop now, isn't it, Pomona?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah. But
yes, you go past it on the Bridgewater because there's the canal running, and you go past Trafford Park.
I know it's just phenomenal, isn't it? It's phenomenal. You look at the complexity of all that. Because I was brought up in Trafford Park, right on the edge of Stretford, on the edge of Trafford Park, and there's another shot. I thought that was the United Ground, but the United Ground's up on the top right.
It's over there, yeah.
That's something else. Oh, this is the cricket ground, is it?
It's the cricket ground, yeah.
Yeah. But this is on the edge of Trafford Park. You're very fortunate there to have a little vision of the greatest football team in the world.
Are you doing really well with your drone control there, Bernard?
Sorry about this. And this is Trafford Park. It was an article done by The Guardian on its decline. I love the guy on the left. He looks like he's got his briefcase and he's walking across to something. I don't know. So but I do remember at night time the lights and flashes you got from Trafford Park was, as a kid, was something really exciting. It seemed like a different kind of world altogether. And here is who does anyone know who this might be?
Harold. Harold.
Yeah, the pound in your pocket.
let me get my pipe out. When he smoked cigarettes, really. It's a great photo, that one, 1970, in front of the workers who'd specifically dressed up in their 1970s clothes for this. Presumably about some sort of industrial dispute or about how they should all vote for Labour or whatever it was at the time. So I can remember when I was involved in trying to stop factory closures in Trafford Park. And I remember going to worker meetings where John Tocker, who was the head of the engineering unions, actually got on the equivalent of a soapbox to address the workers and try and get them to not to strike and not to accept the payoffs. And that was at Massey Ferguson tractor factory. But they did accept the payoffs and it was closed. And there were very few well, there were some sit-ins and various things like that, but not. It was absolutely decimated in the 80s, as were cotton mills and the whole of the Northwest, well, the whole of the UK economy. And this was an interesting part of it, which was Metropolitan Vickers, or as we used to know it, Metrovix.
Yeah.
Because it was just down the road. One of the entrances to that was just down the road from my mum and dad's veg shop. And I can remember sitting in the shop as the hooter went off. And then from the gates, you'd first of all see people on bikes and people running away from it, and then just a mass of people walking down the road. It was really quite a sight. It was an amazing place. And this is something people don't know much about, which is the Metropolitan Vickers cast iron water tower. Unfortunately, during World War II, it proved to be a superb guide for enemy bombers. They lined up under the tower and caused tremendous damage to the works. Truly British, we removed the tower on the following day. Hardly any roofing was left and half the machinery was destroyed, yet in a month it was back on full production. Now when I searched for images about this, I came across a posting I'd done myself in 2014 of somebody who'd been a senior engineer at Metrovix who gave a talk to the history group. So there I was researching. I came up with my own photographs from that one. But it's a superb building. Anyway, in a month after all that damage, they were back in full production. Trafford Park itself suffered greatly. 7 out of the 10 world's biggest warehouses were destroyed by the bombing. As you can imagine, it was a real target. It even reached Chorlton because if they had any bombs left, they'd just throw a few out on the railway lines that are going through Chorlton, which was hit a couple of times, several people killed. Now, also, if you can see on the left, it doesn't really indicate it, and I'll come on to the element on the right. There was a radio station broadcast by the British Broadcasting Company from Manchester, England, called 2ZY between 1922 and 1927. It aired its first test transmission on 450 meters on 17th of May 1922 and began regular broadcasting on 15th of November 1922, just 6 days after the sister station 2LO began daily programs in London. So it was just beaten to that by 2 weeks, but it was one of the first radio stations, certainly in the country, maybe in the world. They were made and broadcast at first from Metropolitan Vickers electricity works in Old Trafford, and the water tower was the site of the transmitter. The thing on the left is the guy who gave the talk apparently made model railways. And this is one that was on demonstration in Lewis's in Manchester for several years. I don't know how that links to it. And this, I think, is an astonishing photo. I'll just move you over here. Can you see this this engine here, made by Metropolitan Vickers?
Yeah.
There are 100 carriages on this. You've got to follow it round like that, to the end of the train. And apparently the driver had a little moped he could use to go and inspect the carriages at the end. But it just shows the technology from Manchester's engineering, including Metropolitan Vickers and also Crossley's in Gorton, was absolutely huge. I remember with one factory, Lawrence Scott's, who actually had an occupation of the factory to try and save it from closure. The diesel engines they made powered all the boats in Hong Kong Harbour, the sampans, I think they're called. And it's diesel engines we used in all sorts of lorries and things like that, as of course did Leyland engines up in Leyland. But it kind of all links in, because so much depended on the availability of the ship canal to export stuff, and I think that is it.
Great stuff.
That was brilliant.
That's at Castlefields.
Oh,
It's really beautiful.
that's
Lovely.
fabulous.
It's fabulous, isn't it?
That's
It's
really good. Oh,
That's good, isn't it? See?
yeah.
That's part of the best team in the world, isn't it?
It's really, really
I mean,
interesting.
I didn't learn that until Bernard told me about it. That's the best team in the world.
Yeah.
Well, we're
And
on
thank
the-
you, Bernard.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
We're on the last minute, so we've
Many thanks, Bernard.
thank you, the
That
brave
was brilliant.
few.
Great